everyone. I want to welcome you to our post-game press conference here with head coach Kenni Burns of your Penn State Golden Flashes. Coach, would you like to begin with an opening statement, please?
Yeah, obviously disappointed in the loss. Excited to get to conference play and get back on the grind here. But to disappointing loss, disappointed locker room. We got to come back and respond next week and get healthy and give ourselves a chance to win next week's game. Open it up for a question.
Kenny, when your quarterback goes down as early as he did, and then you had maybe half a dozen times where kids are laying on the ground, are you concerned about the physical health and also the mental and emotional, just health of your team?
You know what? We play football, so there's going to be a physical element to it, and you're going to get banged up here and there. This game was probably a little bit more than normal, but I thought our guys kept battling. I thought so we got some young guys go in there and compete at a decent level. So, this is football. I've been a part of worse games than that from an injury standpoint. From the emotional standpoint, no, I thought our guys came back the second half and they kept competing. Kept trying to do their job. We got to learn how to do it better. That's just the bottom line. Still a very, very young football team. You look out there, a ton of freshmen playing, true freshmen. And they got to learn from this and take what they've learned into conference play.
Kenny, you obviously played Tennessee last week. Yeah. How does this Penn State team compare to that team?
Both very elite football teams. Both two teams I expect to be in the playoffs, both of them. They don't have many weaknesses on offense or defense. They play extremely hard, both teams do. And when you put talent with effort, you got something special. And I expect both of those teams to be in the playoffs.
How do you talk your team up when you're coming into your stadium? And how do you get them to buy into the series they compete in?
Opportunity. I think you saw in the first quarter, you got an opportunity to compete against a national ranked team, guys, and see where you're at and see the growth that you made. I think that people look at last week's score and expect us to quit and give up. That's not how we're built. These guys are young, they're eager, they're improving each week, and hopefully next week we take another big jump as we play Eastern Michigan.
Coach, you said a point of emphasis this week was tackling. How do you think you did this week compared to last week?
I think it was better, but still a long ways to go. I still think guys are not using the tackling circuit correctly, and we've got to fix that. But I think there's two elements. They're playing a team that's really fast and agile and being able to get them down, and then also but trusting the tackling circuit. I think we get nervous at times and we just wing it and try to just get the guy down instead of trusting the tackling circuit, which we got to keep preaching as coaches. And like I said, you look at where the missed tackles are coming from. It's Tevin Tucker, redshirt freshman. It's Joel Boma, freshman. It's these guys that are Jaden Studio, true freshmen. It's guys that are young players that are going to learn and get better.
Kenny, what makes this Penn State offense so difficult to deal with?
They've got really good skill and they got really good offensive line. When you've got both of those, I think you got a really unique offense, and they got great quarterback play. I think he's a phenomenal football player, and they got two solid running backs that I played against when I was at Minnesota. So I knew we had our hands full, and I thought the first quarter we were okay with them and keeping the ball in front of us and trying to limit the explosive plays. But as the game went on, they just wore us down, and I think that was the big part. Then on offense, we couldn't generate any first downs. And when you get to your third quarterback, my biggest thing was, let's not put him in harm's way. Let's hand the ball off and keep the clock moving here and see if we can generate some first downs on the ground.
What were some of the challenges with their tight end? Obviously, throws a touchdown pass as a run out of the Wildcat. What were maybe some of the challenges that you guys saw, and how did that compare to when you guys were prepping for him?
Yeah, they do a really good job of kind of making it be in conflict with their run scheme and then their action off of it. It's a really good RPO scheme. Your backer's got to have really good eyes, and a couple of times we had dirty eyes, and where we had our eyes in the backfield and you're a step too late, and he's cleared you now. So it's stuff that we've got to learn from on tape and get better with.
You've coached in a whiteout before. How do you prep for Penn State crowd noise?
Well, we practiced all week for it, and we were in the indoor. We had the offense in the indoor and the defense on the practice field. So we were ready for it. I thought we handled it okay, way better than we did last week. But there's nothing like it. These guys, they've had the opportunity to play in two of the best venues in college football over the past 2 weeks. And like I told them, it won't get any harder than that when it comes to atmosphere and crowd noise.
Krishan's seen a lot of press coverage, Coach, the last couple of weeks. What do you have to do to try and free himself up a little bit more going into Eastern Michigan?
Yeah, you know what? Krishan's got to keep getting better, and he knows that. I think he is probably as disappointed as anyone in how he's handled the press coverage. He's got to keep using his technique and his skill. He's got to get stronger. He's played against some really good corners, and I think he's got to use what he went through in this preseason as he gets to conference play. He's a very talented football player, very, very talented football player. He's got to use all his weapons, and he hasn't done that to his ability quite yet. And he'd be the first one to tell you that.
And do you have any type of update? I know that was a scary injury to Devin early in the game, and how he's doing in his status.
He's got sent to the emergency room. Obviously, I don't know exactly what's going on there, but we'll have more information in the press conference on Monday.
What did you think of your special teams today? I know Josh Smith pinned Penn State inside the 10 3 or 4 times today. Can you speak a little bit about his performance?
Yeah, I thought Josh played well. I thought he did a really good job of flipping the field a couple times and made him go the long way. I think when you look at it, I know we're going to watch this tape, but as a head coach, you sit back and you observe. There was just some things that it wasn't necessarily scheme, but talent. Where we didn't get the ball down and we were in a position to make a play and didn't make a play. And that extended drives and then they obviously capitalized on them in the red zone.
Aiden Harris was a guy you saw a lot in the spring game. He scored a touchdown for you guys in the spring game. It was his first collegiate action today. What did you think of his performance?
I thought he did a solid job. You can see the potential there. Another true freshman that got some reps today. He's had a couple good weeks of practice, and we said let's throw him out there and see what he can do. And with our situation at tailback and a couple injuries, and I thought he did a solid job.
Kenny, you mentioned if you were going to beat Penn State today, how do you think you would have done it?
We would have had to tackle way better and create more explosive plays. And when Dev went down, I knew the explosive play battle was going to be hard, from that standpoint, because JD's got some strengths, but throwing the ball down the field is not one of them. He does a better job with his feet in the immediate pass game. So when Dev went down, I knew we'd have to get creative with the offense, and took probably half of Coach Carney's play sheet and kind of limit it, but it's okay.
Kenny, you mentioned the RPO scheme that they run. Is there anything else that stood out about the offensive play design, the offensive scheme that you thought made it?
Yeah, I played this team quite a bit at Minnesota, and the one thing I say that was very different is they do a lot of movement with moving people around and pieces around to create confusion, and that's what Andy's really good at. He was good at that at Kansas. I've known him for a while, and they do a great job with that because what they do is they make your eyes be really disciplined. And a young football team like us, I don't think we're very disciplined at times with our eyes. So I thought that was the big difference that you saw it on tape, but in person even more, just the ability to move the pieces.
How much do you think this competition the last 2 weeks playing top 10 teams is going to help you going into your MAC opener next week?
Tremendously. I truly feel that way, and I'm not afraid to say that. If we use what we've learned the past 2 weeks and against the talent that we played and the schematics that we played against, I think we'll be just fine in conference play. But they've got to use it. They've got to learn from it. They've got to have a real conversation with themselves. They've got to watch the film and be honest about where our weaknesses are. And as coaches, we got to coach way better, way better. And then as players, we've got to play better.
You came from the Big Ten before this. Do you feel more prepared to play a Big Ten team than you did in Tennessee?
You know what? I came in here as an assistant, as a Big Ten guy. As a head coach, I think it's very different. I think you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's, but I still think there's things you're learning as you play in these different environments and different venues that I'll take away from this and make myself a better head coach as well.
You mentioned Andy and obviously so much of the creativity. I guess how would you kind of describe his philosophy and what you've seen and maybe what you've studied?
Yeah, I think he does a great job of creating confusion. And it's complex simple them. It's the same schemes, but the pieces are moving and who's doing what. It makes it complicated. And then there's some really good play action stuff off of it as well, where, again, he gets people open down the field. And we have a really good O-line that could protect. I think it creates massive problems. And I think you'll see it as they get into Big Ten play.
When they went with the swinging gate, you guys burned the timeout. What was it like on the sideline?
Just too much chattering, so I knew that the defensive coaches were kind of talking about what they thought it could be, so I just burnt the timeout because I thought we were still in the game then, and I didn't want something to happen that could create an explosive play and give up 7 easily.
You mentioned some of those openings down the field. How would you evaluate how Drew Aller played, especially with some of those longer throws?
Yeah, he's very talented, very, very good football player. He doesn't have many weaknesses. The good thing about him, which I've learned over time, is he's really good at responding. When something he throws a pick early, it didn't rattle him, comes back and plays the next drive and goes down the field. I think that's the sign of a really elite quarterback. They can play the next moment, play the next play, and he does a really good job with that.
Caden Studio, Armon Hamlin, Cannon Williams, coach 3 of your linebackers that didn't have a ton of experience going into this season. How do you think those young linebackers are developing aside a veteran guy like Caleb Johns and Matt Harmon?
Yeah, I think Jaden Studio's developing really well. He's probably one that I've been impressed with over the weeks, how quick he's learning. And even today, I thought just off the hoof, he played even better than he played last week. He's a guy that I expect when he gets to conference play, he's going to be very confident, and that's what we want. And you saw Nyland Brown out there too, another true freshman that has played better, in my opinion, than he did the week before. So There's a lot of them. I think Tevin Tucker seemed more confident today that first quarter than he did last week, another redshirt freshman. So we just got to keep letting those guys grow up and develop. And like I said, I think as they get into conference play, they're going to feel a lot more comfortable and confident as they get into it.
You touched on this a little bit. When Devin goes down early, how do you keep your team together and how do you keep them focused?
Leadership. I think Kim Go did a good job of saying, JD, it's your show now. You're prepared for this. You're ready for this. And I thought JD came in and got a couple first downs in what we were doing. I don't think Dev going down rattled us as much as people think. I think the team rattled around that and kind of built some confidence. And into the first quarter, 7-0. And we're right there. And so again, we got to play harder for longer. We played hard the first quarter, but it's got to be longer. And I thought we wore down as the game went on.
You kind of touched on this a little bit. When you're coming out of 15 minutes and it's only a 7-0 game, how are you and your guys feeling?
Oh, you're feeling. Hopefully, you're getting as a head coach. Hopefully, they're getting confidence that they belong and they can play with this football team. And I thought they did. And a couple things sprung open in the second quarter that kind of got away from us a little bit. And then, we had a mishap. I thought we gave them 7 on offense at the end of the second quarter. We should have handed the ball off, and Tommy pulled it and threw it. That there probably saves you 7, where it's 21-0 at halftime, and now you're still in striking distance with the stop here or there.
When you guys got to the Penn State 46 and the 41, was there any thought or much thought of saying, hey, maybe we should go for this? Or
Yeah, it's funny you say that. We had a couple calls in there, and then they came out and took it away with what they were in, so we checked the play into something else. But, it's a very for me as a head coach, you're playing field position there. You're trying to, if you don't get it, punt them, keep them deep. And hopefully your defense just got to stop. Hopefully they can get another stop there. But I didn't want to lose the field position battle there as much. And when you look at their defensive line, how talented they are, putting our guys in a situation where we're dropping back and taking a shot, I didn't think was very advantageous. And it's something that JD is not built really to do.
You mentioned Penn State kind of pulling away a little bit in that second quarter. Was there a point in particular you can point to where the dam kind of broke and it felt like they had a big advantage?
There was a couple. I think there was a third down that I thought we were in really good position, didn't make the play to get off the field, and I thought that was huge because I felt like they got some confidence there and got it rolling. But there's not one play here and there. I think what we're finding out about our football team is it's a guy here and there that isn't doing their job. And we talked about being disciplined. We got to be way more disciplined with everybody doing their 111, and I think that they'll see that again on tape today. And we just got to keep closing that gap as we get into conference play.
You praised your defensive line a lot. Guys like Oliver, Steven, Cam Olds have really had good moments this year. What do you need out of them the next couple of weeks to provide some wins?
Just consistency. I think that every once in a while they get anxious to make a play, and they might be out of their gap. They might, try to, we were in the backfield a couple times. They didn't get the quarterback down. Got to get the quarterback down. Stuff like that. Just trusting what they've been taught. I think under the pressure of the situation, every once in a while we get outside of our teaching. Those guys got to do what they do, and I think as they move forward, they're going to have some some advantages matchup wise with some of the opponents we're going to play. They got to play at a high level and give us a shot.
You talked a little bit about growing from this game. What specific lessons can you give your team from Penn State?
I think the biggest thing is just discipline. Doing your job. Everybody doing your job, and I think that's where, as a football team, and definitely a youthful team, and I'm going to keep saying that because that's reality. It's going to have to come over situations. So where you touch the stove and you get burnt a little bit, and you learn from it and you get better. I thought there was a handful of guys that, as I watched real closely that first quarter, they got better. Like I said, Tevin Tucker, I was happy with Tevin's first quarter, second quarter of the game. Joel Boma played solid for a little bit there, and like some of those young kids, seeing them grow up in front of your eyes is stuff that's encouraging to me as a head coach.
Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Do you look at that and go, that's us, that can be us?
I think we all look at that and wear kind of the honor of, we're a MAC school and one day you can get to that. And there's been others that have done that as well. I think the one thing you'll see is the guys that typically do that, they got their culture in place. They've been there for quite a while. I know Thomas really well. And he'll tell you quickly, I was just 0-6 about 4 years ago, and didn't win a game. But he's got a really good football team now, and I think Miami of Ohio did that last year with Cincinnati beating them, and I know Bowling Green's done it a couple times as well. So I think as your team keeps growing, the better we get, the more we'll have shots to win these type of games. That's what I told him in the locker room. I said, guys, listen, I know you want this game. You want to win these games someday. We're not there yet. We got to get there, and I'm going to show you how to get there, but you got to trust the process as a football team.
Any other questions for the audience? I got a couple here from our virtual room. Coach, you spoke a little bit about discipline as far as positional assignment, but again, you're a top 5 team in penalties against, only 2 again today, given the crowd noise. how do you guys stay disciplined as far as those types of instances?
Yeah, I think we're doing a better job just with the penalties this year than we did last year. I think discipline now is just coming with the lineman assignment, being consistent with it. And as coaches, we've got to coach it way better, in my opinion. But we're getting there. We got a long way to go. I'll say this again, and this is a reality. We played two really good football teams. Those are two teams that I expect to be in the top 5 here shortly. And we've got a good snapshot of where we got to get better as a football team. But I think as the games go on here, as we get healthier, you'll see that we can compete in our league.
Okay, any other questions here for Coach? All right, we'll see everybody that's interested at 11:30 on Monday as we get ready for Eastern Michigan. Coach, any final thoughts?
Nope. Appreciate the coverage. Go Flashes. King Grit. Thanks.